Dissipation of the Darkness, or the Kingdom of the Antichrist. Jose Cicero Honorato. Part 2. Prudente Jose de Moraes y Barros. He was third President of the Republic of Brazil. Mandate, November 15, 1894 to November 15, 1898. Prudente de Moraes was a Catholic of family tradition and became also a Freemason. However, he does not seem to have died convinced with Freemasonry, despite there are Masonic lodges that bear his name in Brazil. Author and translator of Portuguese, Jose Cicero Honorato. Introductions. Resume of the life of Dr. Prudente de Moraes. Dr. Prudente Jose de Moraes Barros was born October in Itu, São Paulo. In the year 1863, he acquired the title of Doctor of Law. In 1864, he was elected a member of the Council of Piracapa. In 1867, he was a member of the Chamber of Deputies of São Paulo. In 1885, on January 9th, he was elected Deputy of the 8th District of São Paulo. On December 3rd, 1889, he was named by the Provisional Government of the Republic Governor of São Paulo until October 18, 1890, the day on which he was appointed Senator. On November 21st of the same year, he assumed the presidency of the Constituent Assembly, 146 votes opposed to 80. In the first days of March of 1894, he triumphed by a smashing majority in the presidential elections, assuming the presidency on November 15, 1894. He was an example without precedent in self-sacrifice and justice, attaining the friendship, goodwill, and trust of all people and all the politicians of the nation. He died December 13, 1902. Resume of the autobiography of Awad Khoury. Translator of this history from French to Arabic. Picture shown with clothing and Masonic decorations. Upon discovering the mystery, he gave up the Masonry. I was born in Chea, Beirut, Lebanon, in January of 1871. I received a Christian education through my parents, the Orthodox priest Yosef Anton Garros El Khoury and Nia Mansur Fayal. I studied in the local elementary school, acquiring the title of Teacher of Arabic and French after having finished my secondary studies in special courses. My students were numerous, some of them being outstanding personalities, as, for example, Professor Wadi Nam, who came to be president of the College of Lawyers of Lebanon. Spurred on by my aspirations to a brilliant future that I could not attain by means of the profession of teacher, I journeyed to France to study Pasteur's system of raising silkworms. There my studies ended. I became an industrial merchant in that profession. Seeking a better future, and perhaps by the natural instinct of my adventuresome race, I abandoned everything and journeyed to Brazil, where I had the opportunity of meeting Dr. Prudente de Moraes, President of the Republic of Brazil, who commended to me the task of recording the private affairs of the presidency. From February 15, 1896 until September 12, 1897. During this period, the President introduced me to the owner of this history, as will be seen in the following pages. For reasons of health, I journeyed to France. My health regained, and at the repeated insistence of my parents, I returned to Lebanon. I journeyed to France again, and on returning, met in Istanbul Muzaffar Pasha, who appointed me his secretary. We journeyed together to Beirut, where, because of a royal intrigue and the discovery of my affiliation with the association, Young Turkey, from which I had 2 decorations of merit, I renounced my charge. At that time, an attempt was made to integrate Lebanon in the Turkish Congress, Mubhatan. Such an attempt provoked my reaction, and I published a book with respect to this entitled Lebanon in Danger. My name was inscribed on the blacklist, and I was persecuted by Jamal Pasha, a governor more merciless than the Imperial Ottoman, which obliged me to take refuge with my family in the vicinity of a convent of religious until the end of the World War. My encounter with the owner of this history. Do not be surprised, dear reader, if I declare frankly to you that I was one of the extraordinarily numerous seekers and investigators eager for the history of the foundation of the Masonic Association and of the principal reason for its foundation. All my efforts toward that intention were in vain. Many times I had serious discussions with my brothers, quote, brothers, after having become an affiliate in the association. I struggled terribly to penetrate its secrets through the high degrees that I could scale through my activity. I arrived at nothing. My destiny was similar to the destiny of thousands before me, whose search ended in failure. I almost forgot the objective that I had dreamed of because the journey was so long, and that long journey I arrived at one point that I could not pass, the point of resignation before the Hermetic secret, the secret of the foundation of Masonry. My political occupations especially obliged me to neglect that object now, for me unattainable. And one day, providentially, I met Mr. Lawrence, son of George, son of Samuel, son of Jonas, son of Samuel Lawrence, thanks be to God, and to Dr. Prudente de Moraes, President of Brazil, who introduced him to me, the last descendant of the owners of this history. Picture Lawrence, the last descendant of the owners of this history. Mr. Lawrence is the owner of this history, the Hebrew manuscript that I present to the reader translated into Arabic, and he is, at the same time, the last heir of one of the 9 founders of the association, parentheses, the mysterious force, as will be seen later. Within a short period of time, we forged strong chains of growing friendship. We agreed to translate the manuscript to Arabic and Turkish, directly from the French version, one of the languages in which it was written. I would make 2 copies, one for Mr. Lawrence, and the other would remain in my possession, so it could be published in Arabic and Turkish countries. In these countries I would have exclusive rights of translation, reproduction, editing, and publishing in the 2 languages. Before finishing the reading of the history and before signing the agreement in one of the meetings held with Dr. Morris and my new friend Lawrence, I asked the President, every history has its proofs or evidences on behalf of impartial historians. In our history, on what evidences or proofs can we rely besides those of its owners? Behold, the answer is given by Dr. de Moraes, confirmed by the owner of the manuscript. Quote, what proof will a history such as this have? One that was hidden among 9 men and their respective successors, known only to them, the first and only one of its kind, if no one saw it or read even the last part of its contents, except the 9? From whence and from who can come the proofs to which you allude? The proofs, then, are their testimony, the events that happened until our days, and the detailed investigations of wise historians who worked in vain to explain its secret. Moreover, as every history, the first and oldest of its kind, requires the investigation of subsequent historians who confirm its text after having seen and read it. But this history, who reads it? Who saw it except the 9 founders and their respective successors? We, you and I, untiring readers and investigators of the origin of Masonry, have this manuscript before us. I, who have read and analyzed it, based on my studies and investigations, assert its veracity and recommend its translation and publication. Dr. de Moraes' answer inspired confidence in me and awakened my enthusiasm to carry out the work commended. I began to work eagerly, spurred on by the thought that my new friend would cease being so and would not persist in his agreement. Despite Mr. Lawrence's requirement that the translation from French to Arabic be realized in his own house, the development of the work was carried out to perfection in 2 copies as he asked. The work being concluded in the year 1897, 1 copy remained in Mr. Lawrence's possession and the other in my possession. I considered it an indescribable treasure and an invaluable relic. In the year 1898, I returned to my country, Lebanon, taking the aforementioned copy with me. And part 2.